there, Pokemon Masters, Birdkeeper Toby here. Pokemon Masters. I always call you Pokemon Masters, but what exactly does that mean? There isn't really a set definition. Does it mean getting all the gym badges of a region? Well, I'm sure a few of us have done that. Completing the island trials. I'm sure many of us have done that as well. Or perhaps it means catching all the Pokemon. What about owning all the Pokemon, one of each species? That is known as a living dex. A living Pokedex. Many of you already have it. I've seen you tweet me about this. Because catching all the Pokemon is quite the feat indeed. In fact, for at least 7 years of Pokemon's 20-year-long history, catching all the Pokemon has been impossible. See the video I did about that once this video is over. It's been impossible mostly because of event Pokemon. Pokemon that you can only really get in specific times and places, as well as that certain versions have exclusive Pokemon, meaning you have to trade with other people or do what I do and have multiple DSs. It's a fun social life I live. But Pokemon Masters, having a living dex, that's old now. A lot of people have done that, especially because between X and Y, Omega Ruby, Alpha Sapphire, and Sun and Moon, as well as all of the event Pokemon that were released last year, every Pokemon is more or less available to catch. The only exception currently is Marshadow. And that'll be out in an event very, very soon. So all of the Pokemon have been very easy to get hold of as of late. So I want to up the ante and challenge you and myself to possibly the greatest feat. The next level of the living dex. And no, I'm not talking about having the living dex as a shiny living dex, although that is pretty hardcore. And if you've done that, well, you're definitely a Pokemon master. But no, I'm going to talk about specifically how you capture all of these Pokemon, because I've got a new method for obtaining my living dex, or rather, I've broken down my living dex and put lots of Pokemon to the side as duplicates, and I intend to re-venture through many of the worlds of Pokemon to capture them in the right way. But what does that mean, the right way? Well, I have this challenge in 2 steps for you. Step number 1 is get the living dex, but how? Well, all of your Kanto Pokemon must come from Kanto, so that's red, blue, and yellow on the virtual console, or leaf green and fire red. And if you're doing it on leaf green and fire red, you're gonna need to trade them up. If you're doing it on the virtual console, you use the Pokemon Transporter. All of the Pokemon of Johto must come from either Heart Gold and Soul Silver, or the new re-released Gold and Silver for virtual console. All the Hoenn Pokemon must come from Omega Ruby Alpha Sapphire, or Ruby Sapphire and Emerald, all the Sinnoh Pokemon from Diamond Pearl or Platinum, all the Unova Pokemon from Black and White and those sequels, all of your Kalos Pokemon must come from X and Y, and all of your Alolan Pokemon must come from Sun and Moon or Ultra Sun and Ultra Moon. That's the first bit of criteria. However, I'm going to give 2 exceptions to this rule. Number 1 is event Pokemon, mythical Pokemon, of which there are 18. These, as well as all of the rules, are listed in the description below, and if you got these event Pokemon through events and not from those regions because you can't go back now and get them from those regions, then in that case, you are forgiven. You do, of course, need to get all of the mythical Pokemon, but it just doesn't matter which regions they've come from. And point number 2 is Spiritomb does not need to come from Sinnoh. You will get bonus points if you do, which I'll talk about in a moment, but getting a Spiritomb from Sinnoh is very, very difficult currently. Totally doable, but it is quite the challenge. So if your Spiritomb came from another region, I will totally forgive you. But those are the only 2 exceptions, mythical Pokemon and Spiritomb. Other than that, those are the rules you gotta follow. And all of this whole living dex is worth a total of 0 points. That's the baseline. But there are 150 available points to you. Oh yes, a grand total of 150 bonus points for you to collect to really differentiate yourself from other Pokemon Masters who manage this. So let's start, and I will, once I'm done with this list, give you some tips on how to do this. But 5 points will be awarded if your Dragonite came from the game Pokemon XD Gale of Darkness. You can only get Dragonite at the end once you've caught all of the other Shadow Pokemon, so it's quite an achievement. A further 5 points will be awarded if your Lugia came from this game, because it means you gotta purify it from Shadow Lugia, which is, again, quite the feat. 5 points will be awarded to you if your Phione came from My Pokemon Ranch, the WiiWare title. And a further 15 points if your Mew came from there, because you have to store like a whole load of Pokemon on there to get Mew. It'd be quite the effort to do now. Oh, and I think it goes without saying, no hacks. Let's, make it a real challenge for yourself. 20 points if you get all of the unknown forms. That's not including the exclamation question mark from the Johto Virtual Console games. If you have 26 different unknown, all with the little Game Boy logo, then congratulations, 20 points to you. 5 points if your Ho-Oh came from Pokemon Colosseum. This means that you've caught and purified every Shadow Pokemon in Pokemon Colosseum and then done Mount Battle. 5 points if your Feebas came from Ruby, Sapphire, or Emerald instead of Omega Ruby or Alpha Sapphire, and this is just because of how much harder it is to acquire. 5 points if you get either a Glalie or a Steelix from the Omega Ruby or Alpha Sapphire demo. This isn't 5 points each, you only get 5 points for one of them, and this is because Glalie was available in some territories and Steelix in Japan. 5 points will be awarded, I feel like Dumbledore right now, 5 points will be awarded if your Jirachi came from Pokemon Channel, and a further 10 if you manage to get your Spiritomb from Diamond, Pearl, or Platinum. Now, if you can get your Electivire and Magmortar from Pokemon Battle Revolution, that's going to be a bonus 5 points, but only if you get them both. But if you get your Manaphy from Pokemon Ranger, well then plus 10 points to you. Because finding a copy of Pokemon Ranger that hasn't been played, if you have a Manaphy from Pokemon Ranger, that is a rare gem. I am also going to award 15 points to those of you who got your Dialga, Palkia, and Giritina, all collectively, I guess 5 points each, from the Pokemon Dream World Radar game. I'm not going to give any points for Ho and Lugia just because I already talked about them. But yeah, that's just a case of locating the games if you have it. Also, speaking of the Dream Radar, 5 points if you get your Landorus, Thundurus, and Tornadus from there. Again, they must all be together to get the 5 points. 5 more points if your Greninja came from the Pokemon Sun and Moon demo. And as we move into Alola, if you have all of the different Alolan forms, then again, a further 10 points. However, if your Executor and Marowak have the Game Boy logo, then plus 5 points. That means you've caught a Cubone and Execute in the Virtual Console games, and then traded them up to Alola and then evolved them. And in the exact same vein, if your Alolan Raichu came from Poketopia, that's Pokemon Battle Revolution, then well done, another 5 points. And for the final 10 points, other than Electivire and Magmortar, and I suppose Alolan Raichu, you must have every other evolution of a Generation 1 or 2 Pokemon with the Game Boy logo. It doesn't matter which region it came from, just that it has the Game Boy logo. This means, say you've got your Eevee from Pokemon Yellow, traded it to Generation 2 to breed it into like a number of Eevee, you've transferred them all up and evolved them into all of the different evolutions here, so they all have the Game Boy logo. But remember, you need to get your Eevee in the Generation 1 games. That includes the breeding, because when you breed, the logo doesn't pass down. And that also means you're really gonna have to think when it comes to Pokemon like Porygon, because Porygon is hard to get hold of in Generation 1. You then gotta trade it to Gen 2 to breed it at least twice so that you can evolve it into Porygon 2, and then Porygon Z. So that is it, a total of 150 points. So if you can do all that, and again, I'm going to leave it all in the description so that you can follow. If you can do all of that, then congratulations, you are on the Ultimate Pokemon Masters list. If you have your living dex following that recommendation, or anywhere between there and 50 points, then congratulations, you're a Pokemon Master. If you have between 51 and 100 points, then congratulations, you are a Pokemon Legend. Between 101 points and 149 points, congratulations, you are a Pokemon Myth. And if you have all 150 points, then you are the Pokegod. I'm sure there's advancements I can make on the challenge, but that is what I plan to do. I am giving myself 1 year, and I'm going to try and get all 150 points. I will, of course, check in with you and tell you where I'm at. I'd love to hear where you're at. Let's move on over to Golden Road Radio News. Thanks, other me. So my plan for this challenge is to do it within 1 year. In a year's time, I'll make a video and check back with you, and of course, tweet about it as well. So I'd like you to go on this journey with me. Now, I've got it already about half done in terms of the regional decks, and then I've got a couple of special Pokemon for bonus points here and there, but I got many more to go. And the way I'm going to tackle it, in order of getting some of these, is I'm going to start with Generation 3. That's Ruby, Sapphire, and Emerald, and I'm going to play them as Game Boy Advance games. And then I'm going to trade them over to Pokemon Colosseum so I have a better shot at Mount Battle so that I can then get Ho-Oh. Then moving them on to Generation 4, and that's important because I'm going to want as many Pokemon as possible on the Generation 4 games for Pokemon Ranch. You need to have a lot of Pokemon to get that Mew from my Pokemon Ranch. And once I've got everything I need from Gen 4, I'll move to Gen 5, and then Kalos and Alola I already have done. Between all of that and as well some good times on the Virtual Console games, I think I can do it in a year. I'm gonna aim for the whole 150 points, so wish me luck. And I wish you luck. And just so you know, if you want to play this challenge in whole, all you need is a Nintendo DS or DS Lite, one of the ones that has the Game Boy Advance slot in it, a Nintendo 3DS of any sort, and a Nintendo Wii that can play as both a GameCube and the Wii version. And then obviously you'll need all the appropriate Pokemon games. But between those consoles, you can do everything that you need. I want to show off this bit of viewer artwork called Primal Kaidon by Osin King. It was tweeted at me a few weeks ago or a month ago, and I really think it's great. Just that perfect fusion of Kyogre and Groudon. Also, I was tweeted by one of you recently, a member of the community called Rebecca, who said that they had watched all of my videos, every video on the channel, and then I tweeted out and asked that apparently a few people have done this. That is incredibly awesome, and if you have also done this, I would love you to tweet me, and if not, all the playlists are on the front of my channel. Check them out and see if you've seen every completionist stuff that you could have on the background of you trying to complete your Pokedex. I actually recommend you start with a video talking about how completing the Pokedex is sometimes impossible, and a special thank you to all my patrons, but particularly the big patrons of the month, Nicholas0202, Immortal Absol, and Joe Schofield. You are amazing. Thank you.
This is Ash Ketchum. You just watched a video by Birdkeeper Toby. That makes you a